The most reliable car brand in America just recalled the same truck engine 3 separate times. That brand is Toyota. Consumer Reports put them at number 1, ahead of everybody. The same stretch, more than 270,000 of their truck engines got pulled back over a defect that can stall the engine while you're driving. So, how does the most trusted name in cars end up hauling 250,000 vehicles into the shop before you've even finished paying for one? Because the reputation you're paying for and the truck sitting on the dealer lot aren't the same thing anymore. Let's start with the part that's true, because this only works if we're honest about it. Toyota earned that reputation. If you're over 55, you've probably owned 2 or 3 of them. Maybe a Camry that went 250,000 miles without a single real problem. Maybe a Tacoma your neighbor still drives to this day, rusty and rattling and refusing to die. You bought Toyota because it started every morning, held its value at trade-in, and never surprised you with a repair bill you didn't see coming. And you didn't learn that from a commercial. You learned it the slow way, one Toyota at a time, in your own driveway. And the ranking backs you up. In the latest Consumer Reports Reliability Survey, the one built from real owners reporting real problems on hundreds of thousands of cars, Toyota came in first. Number 1 out of every brand they measured, their luxury division, Lexus, landed in the top 3 right behind them. So if somebody tells you Toyota fell apart and stopped being reliable, they're wrong, and the data says they're wrong. But here's where you have to slow down. Because that reputation was built over 20, 30 years on a very specific kind of engine. Big, simple, no turbo, not much to go wrong. The naturally aspirated V6 in the old Tacoma, the 5.7-liter V8 in the old Tundra. Those are the engines that earned the badge you trust. And those are the engines Toyota has spent the last few years quietly pulling out of the trucks. The truck you'd buy new today doesn't have any of them. It's running something else entirely. And that something else is where this story turns. In 2022, Toyota completely redesigned the Tundra. New look, new interior, new everything. And under the hood, they retired that 5.7-liter V8 they'd leaned on for more than a decade and dropped in a brand new engine. A 3.4-liter V6 with 2 turbochargers bolted to it. Toyota calls it the V35A. On paper, it looked like an upgrade. Smaller engine, more power, better fuel numbers. That's the pitch, and a lot of buyers took it. Here's what the pitch didn't mention. A big naturally aspirated V8 is about as simple as a modern engine gets. Add 2 turbos and you've added heat, you've added pressure, and you've added a lot more parts that all have to survive being pushed hard for 200,000 miles. Toyota had never mass-produced this exact engine before. It went into the truck anyway, and the people who bought those first ones, trusting the badge, effectively volunteered to find out whether it would hold up. It didn't take long to get an answer. Not long after the new Tundra hit dealer lots, owners started reporting engines that knocked, ran rough, or just failed outright. The problem traced all the way back to the factory floor. During assembly, metal debris was getting left inside the engine. That debris could work its way to a main bearing, one of the small parts the crankshaft spins on, and slowly grind it down until it failed. And when Toyota's own engineers tore these motors apart to find out why, they landed on something that should worry any truck owner. The worst of the load lands on the front bearing, the one closest to the timing chain. Under heavy towing, high heat, sustained load, the exact conditions you bought a truck for, the oil film protecting that bearing gets squeezed thinnest right where the leftover debris tends to collect. In other words, the harder you actually use the truck, the more you expose the flaw. When that bearing finally goes, the engine can stall. On a truck at highway speed with a trailer behind you, a sudden stall like that is genuinely dangerous. And think about who actually buys a full-size truck. A lot of you are pulling a camper, a boat, a horse trailer, a loaded workbed. That's the whole reason you didn't just buy a car. So the one buyer who leans on this engine hardest, the one hauling weight in the heat, is the exact buyer most exposed to the flaw. And Toyota knew it. In May of 2024, Toyota filed the recall. The number on it was 102,092 vehicles. That's 2022 and 2023 Tundras, plus the Lexus LX600, which uses the same engine. Split that up and it's roughly 98,000 Tundras and about 3,500 of the Lexus sport utility vehicles. And the fix wasn't a software update or a cheap little part. Toyota's remedy was to replace the entire engine, pull the motor out of the truck and drop a new one in. More than 100,000 of them rolled out in phases over the following year. Think about what that costs. Not to you, the repair is free, but to Toyota. You don't replace 100,000 engines because a sensor reads wrong. You do it because the engine itself is compromised and there's no smaller fix that works. That's the company telling you, with its own checkbook, how serious this was. Their own filings with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the federal safety regulator, laid it out in plain language. Debris, main bearing, stall, crash risk. To Toyota's credit, and I'll always give credit where it's earned, they reported no injuries from the defect. But there were hundreds of warranty claims tied to that engine, which tells you the failures were real and they were happening in customers' hands, not just in a lab. Now, if that were the whole story, you could call it a rough launch. New engine, early defect, big recall, lesson learned, move on. Every automaker has a bad year. Toyota's had them before and recovered fine. If they'd fixed it once and the problem went away, this wouldn't be a video. You just buy a 2025 and trust it was sorted. But that's not what happened, because this wasn't one recall. This was the first of 3. After that first recall, Toyota changed how it was building the engine. Extra steps to clean out the debris. A redesigned main bearing meant to survive anything that got left behind. The message to buyers was, we found it, we fixed it, the new ones are fine. And then, in November of 2025, they recalled it again. Then a third time in May of 2026, another 43,566 trucks. Read that back slowly. They recalled the engine, changed the process, and the same failure showed up in engines built after the change. Toyota's own documents admit it. Even with the extra debris controls in place, they found there was still enough left behind to damage that same bearing and cause the same problem. Add the 3 campaigns together and you're looking at more than 270,000 engines pulled back over one defect across the Tundra and the Lexus SUVs that share the motor. This is the part that matters when you're standing on the lot. 1 recall is a mistake anybody can forgive. 3 recalls on the same part, after the company already told you twice it was handled, is a pattern. It means Toyota spent 2 years chasing this thing and kept not catching all of it. Now there's a fair caveat here, and I'll give it to you straight because I'm not in the business of scaring you off good trucks. Engines built from around July 2024 onward got that improved bearing and are not in the recall. So the newest ones may well be fine. But here's the catch. You, standing on the lot, have no easy way to look at a specific used or leftover truck and know which side of that line its engine was built on. The badge on the tailgate looks identical either way. And that's the real trouble with buying on reputation alone. The reputation can't tell you which engine you actually got. If you're the kind of person who wants to know this stuff before you sign the paperwork, not after, subscribe to Motor Truth. I go through one of these every week. The recalls, the shutdowns, the quiet changes the ads never mention. Now let's get to the fix itself, because from where you're sitting, it just got worse. For that first recall, like I said, Toyota replaced the whole engine. That's the expensive, honest fix. If your bearing might be compromised, you get a new motor. No argument. But replacing engines by the 100,000 is a staggering bill, even for a company Toyota's size. So for the newer campaigns, they came up with something cheaper. Instead of automatically swapping the engine, the dealer now runs an inspection. Using special software, they check the condition of that number 1 main bearing, pull the truck's own driving data, and decide whether your engine actually needs replacing or not. If the test says you're fine, you keep the engine you already have. And this new inspection approach could apply to the entire recalled population, every last one of those trucks. So this isn't a small tweak. This is Toyota's main answer now. Toyota says that test is reliable, and maybe it is. But look at what changed from your side of the counter. Under the first recall, a compromised engine got you a brand new engine. Now that same compromised engine might get a clean bill of health from a software check and get sent right back out the door. It's the same defect and the same bearing, just a cheaper answer to it. And you're trusting that a quick scan catches a problem that, by Toyota's own admission, comes from debris they couldn't fully see or remove in the first place. If you're planning to keep this truck for 15 years, which is exactly why people buy Toyotas, that's an awful lot of faith to put in an inspection. And here's the detail that really got me. When Toyota announced that newest recall, they hadn't even finished the fix. In their own recall notice, they said the remedy was still being prepared and they aimed to finalize the details in the next couple of months. So owners got the letter telling them their engine might be defective, and the answer for what to do about it was, essentially, sit tight, we're working on it. They put the recall out before the repair for it was even ready. And if you're sitting there thinking, fine, I'll just skip the Tundra and buy a Tacoma or a 4Runner instead, I've got bad news for you. Because Toyota didn't just change the Tundra, they changed the whole truck lineup, the same way. For 2024, Toyota redesigned the Tacoma, one of the most popular pickups in the country and the truck that sold a lot of people in your shoes on the brand in the first place. And they pulled out the 3.5-liter V6, the naturally aspirated one that ran forever, and replaced it with a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder with a turbo. On the higher trims, a 4-cylinder with a turbo and a hybrid system stacked on top. They even dropped the old 2.7-liter 4-cylinder base engine, the plain, boring, bulletproof one, so there's no simple option left to fall back on. Then for 2025, they did the exact same thing to the 4Runner, one of the most trusted off-road SUVs Toyota has ever built. The old V6 gone, a turbocharged 4-cylinder in its place. I want to be careful and fair here because this part matters. Those new engines are not weaklings. On paper, they make as much power as the V6s they replaced, sometimes more, and they burn less gas doing it. That's real. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. And I'll tell you why Toyota did this, because it's not a conspiracy. Tighter emissions and fuel economy rules pushed the entire industry towards smaller, turbocharged, hybrid engines, and Toyota followed the same road Ford and everybody else already went down. The reasons are legitimate, but understanding why they did it doesn't change what it means for you, because horsepower was never the point. What I'm worried about is durability, and that's the exact same question that just bit the Tundra. Toyota took the simple, proven, run-it-into-the-ground engines that earned their whole reputation and swapped in smaller engines with turbos, hybrid batteries, and a lot more going on inside them across the entire truck and SUV lineup, all at once. And the long-term track record on this new hardware simply does not exist yet. It can't. The oldest one has been on the road about 2 years. Nobody, not me, not the reviewers, not even Toyota, can tell you today how a 2024 turbo 4-cylinder holds up at 200,000 miles, because not a single one has gotten there. So here's the full picture forming. Newer, more complex engines. A fresh recall history sitting right on top of them, no long-term proof for any of it. And now, here's the part that should actually decide it for you, because it hits your wallet directly. While all of this was happening, the price went up. A lot. According to CarEdge, which tracks what people actually pay for these trucks, not just the sticker, Toyota's prices climbed about 19% in 5 years across the brand. The Tacoma is up more than 20%. And the Tundra, the truck sitting at the center of this whole engine mess, went up 26.3% in 5 years. That's the single biggest price jump of any Toyota model. The average new Tacoma now sells for just over $41,000. Sit with that for a second. You're being asked to pay more than you have ever paid for a Toyota truck. And not for the engine that earned the reputation, because that one's discontinued. You're paying a record price for the new, unproven, recall-flagged version. And you're paying it partly on the strength of a reputation the truck in front of you never actually earned. It inherited that reputation from the truck it replaced. That's the trade you're really being offered on the lot. A premium price, a legacy badge, and first-generation hardware. 3 separate things the logo blurs into one safe-feeling purchase. And most buyers never pull them apart. You're trusting the badge, but you're paying for hardware that badge never actually covered. Now let me bring this back to that Consumer Reports ranking, because this is the piece that ties it all together, and it's not what you'd expect. Toyota is number 1. That's real, and I'm not walking it back. But dig into what Consumer Reports actually tells buyers, and they give one specific warning that shows up every single year in that same survey. Avoid the first model year of a new design. Avoid a vehicle that was just redesigned. Wait for the bugs to get worked out. Now look at what that means right this minute. The redesigned Tundra, the redesigned Tacoma, the redesigned 4Runner. Every single truck and SUV Toyota is selling you new today is exactly the kind of vehicle their own top-ranked reliability source is telling you to wait on. The ranking and the warning are pointing at two completely different things. The #1 score comes largely from the older, proven models, the ones with years of owner data behind them. Those redesigned trucks are exactly what that warning is about. And those redesigned trucks are the only ones a dealer can sell you new today. So what do you actually do with all this? I'm not here to tell you Toyota is junk. It isn't, and anybody who says so is ignoring the same data I just showed you. What I'm telling you is that the reasons people buy Toyota, the proven engine, the buy it and forget it peace of mind, the last truck you'll ever need, mostly describe the trucks Toyota used to make. If that's what you're actually after, the smart money right now is a clean, well-kept used one from before the switch with the naturally aspirated engine and a real track record underneath it. And you can shop for that on purpose. A Tundra from before the 2022 redesign still has the 5.7-liter V8. A Tacoma from 2023 or earlier still has that naturally aspirated V6. A 4Runner from 2024 or before still runs the old V6 too. Those are the exact trucks that built the reputation, and right now the market is full of them, often for thousands less than a new one with a turbo. Not a brand new one at a record price with a 3 recall history and a 5-minute inspection standing in for a new engine. So before you trade in that old Tacoma or Tundra for something shiny in the showroom, do one thing first. Go look up the recall history on the exact model year you're about to buy on the federal safety site and read it yourself, line by line. Then decide whether that badge is still buying you what it used to, because the next company quietly swapping out the engine that built its name might just be the one you've trusted your whole life.